You ever have one of those weeks where you wake up thinking you're about to spend a quiet morning painting your granddad's old kayak, and before you know it, your HOA president's torching your family heirloom at 2 in the morning, calling the cops and accusing you of arson? Yeah, that happened. Brenda Morrison, picture a blonde with a blazer and the personality of a chain-link fence, looked me dead in the eye and said, "For the good of the community, I'm calling the police after setting my bright yellow paddleboat on fire." The perfect crime, right? Well, she messed up in one huge, hilarious way. She forgot to check who actually owned the water she was standing next to. Let me back up a sec, because trust me, what happened next pulled in property deeds, federal law, and the most satisfying karma you've ever seen. I guess this HOA picked the wrong paddleboat owner. It started on a September morning, sun coming up just right. Me out on my grandpa's old dock, putting a fresh coat of yellow on his 1950s kayak. That boat was bright as a lemon drop. Grandpa said the fish deserved a little warning, not stealth. I'd just gotten lost in the memory of him, his steady hands on the paddle telling me how special this lake was to our family. When I heard the click-clack of heels on my dock, here comes Brenda, ruler of our HOA for 5 years and professional joy vacuum. She had this look like a storm in a pantsuit, clutching a laser measurer and a folder fatter than her sense of self-importance. "Excuse me, but what exactly do you think you're doing?" she snapped. "That color is a direct violation of HOA Regulation 247B regarding community aesthetic standards." I just stared at her. "Brenda, this kayak's been this color since before the HOA even existed. It's my private dock on my private property." She was having none of it. Out comes the laser, zapping around like she's about to do open-heart surgery on the dock, measuring every angle, noting every inch, even the height of my coffee mug. She hands me a violation, 48 hours, or $500 in fines, then $100 more every day after. Her favorite phrase, "for the good of the community." She circles like a shark, snapping photos, recording notes like she's the star witness to some terrible crime. September 15th, 9:47 a.m., documenting HOA violation at 147 Lakeshore Drive. I could practically hear her building the case in her head. And if you think that was petty, wait till you hear about the Petersons. Brenda fined them for growing sunflowers, said they exceeded the height limit by 8 inches. Fines, liens, and eventually the family gave up and moved. Brenda smiled at me, that predatory shark grin. "All for the good of the community," she says, like that makes her the hero in this story. So now I'm standing there, half my kayak painted, the other half still sunny yellow. And I ask Brenda, what happens if your measurements are wrong? She actually laughs at me, says I'm welcome to waste my money on a surveyor. But she's been in real estate for 25 years. She knows how to read a property line. The next day I get an email, 5 p.m. sharp. Formal notice, all caps, 47 photos of my kayak, including drone shots. The kicker: any attempt to relocate the watercraft will be considered an admission of guilt and result in immediate maximum fines. That's right, the HOA's watching me. At this point, I'm done. I close my laptop, stand up, and tell the empty kitchen, fine, she wants war. You know what I mean? Some people cross a line and you just can't ignore it anymore. So I dig in. I'm a history teacher, which means I've got the patience to wade through 5 years worth of HOA bylaws, amendments, and meeting minutes. It's like reading stereo instructions, except more likely to make you angry. Brenda, it turns out, has been slowly expanding the HOA's reach with little amendments. Nobody noticed death by 1,000 paper cuts. But the rules around the lake, total gray area. They keep saying community-adjacent waterways, but never actually define who owns the lake. It's vague on purpose. Neighbors start texting me. Turns out Brenda's not just after my kayak. She measured Christmas lights in July, told folks they had to pre-submit holiday decoration plans, banned garden gnomes for not being aesthetically appropriate. Always, always for the good of the community. That night, I can't sleep. At 2:13 a.m., I'm just staring at my ceiling when I hear it, metal scraping on wood from the dock. My heart jumps into my throat. I creep over to the window lights off. Outside in the moonlight, there's Brenda, of course, and a younger guy, Derek, I'd later learn, dragging my kayak onto a cart. I hear Brenda say, once it's off his property, it becomes abandoned goods on public land, for the good of the community. Derek's voice shakes. "Are you sure about this? Isn't this stealing?" She tells him to shut up and get it done if he wants her recommendation letter for a job. I hit record on my phone, then remember I've got security cameras, pull up the app, start downloading the footage, triple redundancy. I watch as they wheel my grandpa's kayak down the shoreline to what Brenda thinks is the community beach. That's when Derek pulls out a can of gasoline. Brenda says, "Pour it all over. We need it completely destroyed. Can't have him claiming we just moved it." Derek hesitates, but Brenda barks, "I'm the HOA president. This is for the good of the community." The match lights the boat, goes up in flames, 70 years of memories gone. Then Brenda calls 911. I watch as she transforms instantly into a sobbing victim. "Please help. I think Marcus is burning something. He threatened me." Coughs, says she has asthma, puts on a show that'd make Meryl Streep jealous. Derek stands there frozen. Brenda hisses at him to leave and keep his mouth shut. By the time the sirens show up, I'm sitting in my grandpa's old recliner, evidence backed up to every cloud I can think of. Officer Rodriguez looks exhausted, probably on his 47th Brenda call this year. I invite him and offer coffee. Brenda's outside, wrapped in an emergency blanket, really leaning into her role. Rodriguez tells me Brenda claims I was burning property hostile over some HOA violation, for the good of the community. I let him watch my video, Brenda directing Derek, the arson, the whole play-by-play. His face goes through confusion, disbelief, then anger. "She filmed herself committing arson and then called us to frame you," he mutters. I smile. "I've got it from 3 angles. We go outside. Brenda's pacing, ready for her standing ovation. Rodriguez tells her to stay put, calls Derek out from where he's hiding. Derek cracks instantly. "She made me do it. She said it was just moving the boat, then brought out the gas. She kept saying it was for the good of the community." Brenda snaps, "Shut up, Derek." But he's done. He's got screenshots, texts, the works. And here's the twist. Remember my research. I hand Rodriguez a manila folder, the property deed, a survey map, and a document from the Federal Wildlife Service. Turns out my grandfather bought the entire lake in 1952 and registered it as a protected wildlife habitat in the 80s. Destroying property on it, federal crime. The look on Brenda's face, pure gold. She tries to stammer something about lawyers and entrapment, but Rodriguez shakes his head. "Ma'am, you just committed several crimes, all on camera, and for the good of the community isn't a legal defense." More cops show up. Brenda's arrested, still shrieking about her rights. Derek's arrested too, but he's already making a deal. As the sun rises, I'm standing on my dock, the burnt kayak, a skeleton on the sand. Rodriguez comes over, tells me, "Your grandfather protected this lake and now it's protecting you." This isn't just about a kayak, it's about someone finally standing up to her. What happened next? Well, the story hit the news like a tidal wave. HOA president arrested for federal wildlife crime, scrolling under my lesson plans as I taught American Revolution. Irony, right? The video went viral, 2 million views in a day. Brenda became kayak. Karen, the memes exploded. But the real impact came when other families, Petersons, the Enwins, came forward. Brenda had fined the Enwins for an ethnically inappropriate garden gnome, towed their cars, even complained about the smell of their New Year's cooking. A prosecutor started talking about civil rights charges. The courtroom was packed, angry neighbors' families who'd been bullied into silence, all finally speaking up. When Brenda came in for arraignment, orange jumpsuit, hair flat, her lawyer tried to argue she was a pillar of the community. The judge cut him off, reading off a list of charges that just kept getting longer: arson, harassment, federal wildlife crimes. Derek took the stand, told how Brenda promised him a job for helping her push out undesirables and seize the lake for a luxury development scheme, all under the banner of the good of the community. Bail set at $50,000, HOA suspended, then dissolved by a landslide vote. The kicker, Detective Rodriguez calls me later, turns out 3 other HOA presidents in neighboring communities had been running the same playbook, swapping notes in a secret chat. They called themselves the Community Standards Alliance. They'd been coordinating, forcing out families, targeting the vulnerable, all for profit. It broke open a federal investigation. Suddenly, I'm getting calls from journalists, lawyers, even a Hollywood producer. But you know what mattered most? The Petersons bought back their house. Sunflowers taller than ever. The neighborhood held a barbecue, every culture, every dish, kids playing gnomes everywhere, rainbow fences, the works. Brenda. She's out there on the far shore, orange vest, doing court-ordered community service twice, cited for trying to form a litter hierarchy. She has to write weekly essays on environmental law. Now my favorite title, Why Federal Wildlife Protection Laws Matter, a personal reflection. Sometimes the best revenge is living well and living free. The morning I pushed my new, even brighter yellow kayak into the water, Rodriguez raised his coffee cup to my granddad. One smart man who protected a whole community just by thinking ahead. So tell me, who do you think was right? Was justice really served, or was this just the start of a bigger battle? Drop your wildest HOA story in the comments. Let's see whose community drama can top this. And hey, smash that subscribe if you want to hear what other secrets we found buried in those old property deeds. Trust me, Brenda was just the tip of the iceberg.